Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, There Is No Drift. Well, it's basically a question somebody asked me, and at the end it says, Get the drift? So anyhow, the question says, in the video you say, I am not the one who thinks, only thoughts happen. But to say, don't pay attention to what your mind tells you, how can you say don't believe anything your mind tells you? That's also a thought. What does it tell you? Don't believe anything your mind tells you? Get the drift? Well, basically, it's paradoxical. So I'm going to share with you the answer that I wrote real quick, and then we'll elaborate a bit. I said, it is all paradoxical. That's why I'll always reiterate that even though we are not the ones making decisions, we act as if we were. Am I the one who chooses to write these words? I am clear that is not the case, even when I am writing them. Am I the one who chooses to make the videos? I am clear that that's not the case. However, the inspiration to make them arises. I repeat, that's the paradox. That's the mystery. Words can always be turned around. Instead of analyzing them, see if you can recognize where they point. That's how the treasure is revealed and words are no longer necessary. Basically speaking, it appears as if I am making choices like don't believe the content of the mind, while at the same time that is what happens. So the way we can put this to the test is, I will ask you, tell me what is the next thought you're going to have. If you really do the investigation, you realize that you never know what is the next thought you're going to have. So if you don't know what is the next thought you're going to have, how do you know what is the next move you're going to make? You see? So life is unfolding like that. And by we believing that somehow we are in charge, because that's what the mind does. What the mind does is when a thought appears, the mind takes ownership. But in reality, from the moment you wake up in the morning, the journey begins. The play unfolds. And we have to learn to recognize dealing with that paradox. Because if we don't see that, the mind can conjure up all kinds of possibilities to feel guilty. For example, I could have done this, I should have done that. No, you could not have done anything differently, and you should not have done anything differently than what have happened. Now, pay attention, because this is when this is the most important thing in these videos. It's not about what could I have done or why should I have done or whatever. So I have a friend of mine, for example, that he just breaks down crying because he has a, strange relationship with his son, a grown man, and there's a guilt trip. The son says, when I was a child you did this to me, blah blah blah, and then he breaks down. Well, the issue here is, who are you? As long as you believe you're that separate individual, of course the mind can come up with also stories of what you should have done, what you could have done, and then, you suffer the consequences of that. But when you know the fact that you are, which is what these videos are pointing to, all those stories has no power over you. They don't have anything to hold on to. And we're pointing to that. And when you know the fact that you are, then this could have or should have, this completely, they're out of the question. Life is simply unfolding, and all that there is this moment. Right now, there's nothing else. Everything else is a thought. Okay? So, yes, it seems as though you had to live that life that never happened, but it seems that it did because a thought is telling you. And now here you are, and interestingly enough, in the same way that you don't have the choice to act according to what you think you should, look how life moves you to listen to information like this. It could be said that then life through this character called you, is now beginning to recognize the fact that it is what it is, which is what words cannot describe. That's why I always say that's a motive for celebration, if anything. Because if life doesn't want to wake up through you, why would you be watching information like this one? So like I said in the writing, don't get caught up in the specific of the words. Well, if I am not in charge of my thoughts, how can I possibly say don't believe anything you think? Again, don't get caught into that. Simply see where the words are pointing to. And you do the investigation. What is the next thought you're going to have? Well, if you don't know, the investigation right off the bat tells you, if I don't know what is the next thought I'm going to have, then I don't know what is the next move I'm going to make. So how can I suggest that I'm in charge? And when I thought about a past or something that may trigger feelings of guilt or whatever, or even future stuff that we may, concerns or whatever, even pleasure, but it doesn't matter. I'm pointing that whenever the thoughts appear, that's fine. Let's go into what is important. Who are you? Am I the one thinking these thoughts, or am I simply being? When you rest in being, you're resting in the peace that surpasses all understanding, and that is what matters about these videos. That's about it. It's not about the specifics. It's not about trivial questions like that. Let's do the investigation. Who are you? Are you that one who thinks that is listening to this information, or are you simply being, and the listening of this information happens in being? Are you being, and thoughts seems to appear in being? You see? This is what is always been reminded. So right now, going back to what I've always reiterated, if you don't believe the content of the mind in the paradox, knowing that it's not a choice you make, but it appears as if you can make that choice, so let's play the game with that. If you don't believe your thoughts, if you don't believe any thoughts, what remains? And remember, don't answer, because if you answer the question, you went back to the mind. I am pointing to what is. Right now, what remains is what is, and what is beingness, is presence, is what words cannot describe. You can call it anything you want, but I prefer not to call it anything. Just being, resting in beingness. And now you can observe how the thoughts may appear, but you are. Feelings, sensations may appear, but you are. Situations may seem to appear, but you are. And you remain as you are. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.